Okay, today's Friday the 4th, and as of setups, I have not traded anything, but the closest that I would have been in a potential trade would have been here with BLLB. At one point, I was interested in it at 134, but I just didn't take the trade. It wasn't in my watch list. It was, not on my platform, so I didn't really see it when it was downtrending, but I did go through my scanners, and then I found this one later. And I could have taken it, but I wasn't really familiar with this one. It doesn't look horrible, but I just wasn't familiar with it. It did decide to make an uptrend, but if I were to have been in this trade, I would have sold in the 14s. There's no way I would have just held through this because it looks like the volume just dried up. Even though it's trying to get to 17, I would have been out of it right here, and I would have been at 134 just because of the way it just kind of lost momentum right here. And as for anything else, there's nothing. I mean, ENZZ, I guess, did something, but this is horrible. I had no interest in trading it. UGE has no volume, and yeah, I just don't see anything that's really interesting for, a setup, at least a morning panic bounce play for sure. So I'll make an update later, but this might be a day that I don't trade anything. Alright, it is 10:05. I did have a bit of an interest in CYBL because it had a nice uptrend from 13 to 15.5, and it had this dip around VWAP. I would have been in, but there's a big seller at 144 that showed up just now, and there was already a big seller that showed up at 145, so I won't be interested in this setup unless those two just happen to disappear somehow. But this was a potential setup, and I'll make an update to see what this one does ultimately. It could still work even with the big sellers that the ask is just less likely. Alright, it is 10:14, and I think I'm here to call it off, but I'm going to make an update when the markets are closed to see what has happened since. It just feels like it's not my day today, so I'm not trying to fight it. And I also have just a crap ton of work that I need to catch up with anyway, so I think I'm going to do that. I don't think I'm going to trade anything today, but just to go over potential setups. There was nothing here with PUGE. Maybe a higher low here with MTTR, but I don't mind missing this one too much. But it is nice that it's finally maybe trying to do some kind of a turnaround when you see this daily chart, right? And it is, it was something that broke the trend line further back here, right? So maybe it can do something, and that would be cool. A double bottom, I guess, but I mean, it's kind of hard to just jump in right here and then it just has an immediate confirmation with these big green candles, and then if you're not in it right here, you're gonna think you're chasing, and then you're not a part of it. So that's the case with that. Nothing really with LWLG. I guess I held VWAP here, but that's not really something I would just trade. This was a potential one. I just didn't like how low volume it was, and I would have sold in the 14s. ILUS is uptrending as well as CYBL. I liked CYBL more. This one did work, but it was very ugly the way it did it, and I would have been in at 144. I would have been out at 146 because of the way it got there. There were big sellers at the ask, and especially one with like 300,000 shares that popped up later. And once they were all taken out, it just started to consolidate, and it just looked a bit ugly. And it had a little wick right here, and then it kind of uptrended, but I don't like the way I got there. I wouldn't have traded it. And this one is the one that's just making me gonna consider thinking, maybe it's not my day today, so I'm gonna call it off. But I actually was interested in it at 204. I was just too slow. Maybe if I was watching this, if I had it on the other screen, I would have considered a setup with this, but I just didn't do it for that reason. And this one being a low, I guess a low float OTC probably, made a crazy move to 240, and that would have been super nice. A 20% profit right there, even though I would have traded 25 shares, which would have been very small just because of how low of a float it was. If it were to have not have worked out and broken under 2, I would have maybe have sold at 188, which would have been not so ideal. So yeah, I think I'm gonna call it off. It just seems like a missing setup, so I'm not trying to push it, especially with the amount of work I have to do, and I can just try again the next day, God willing. Yeah, I don't think I'll trade anything unless something crazy pops up while I'm getting ready to go, but I think that's about it. Alright, it is 7:13 p.m. and I am here to call it off. Yeah, overall, just kind of, I don't know, I guess today just really wasn't my day. I just had a whole bunch of setups that actually did work out, and I didn't trade any of them, which really stunk. AMMR, this is the one that I was looking at. It did a nice move. I guess it came to the same level again, but it's not the same after the first dip, after having a super nice run up around that VWAP level. Nothing with PUGE. BLLB was a setup here that I missed. I don't mind this one again too much with MTTR. Nothing really afterwards that was nice. Maybe a breakout here, but it looks like it didn't really do that much, but that could have been something. CYBL, I saw this later. It sold off all of its gains, and my idea for a dip was right here. It did work, but it did sell off all the way, and it only finished up 5% on the day. It seems like if this little blip didn't mess with it, maybe it finished less. Nothing with LWLG, although it's nice to see an uptrend, and then ILUS held itself, unlike CYBL. And yeah, that's really about it. I just had a few setups. They all worked out. I'm not, happy in that, I missed those. And as for how much I'm up today, I'm obviously not up anything because I didn't try anything. But I did take some longer term positions. This is just what I'm doing. It's not necessarily the best thing to do, but I'm up kind of annoyed with the overall markets, but because it seems so strong and that it's gonna come back and everything, blah blah blah, like it just had this little dip here and maybe it'll try to regain itself. I think it could try to do something like that. It could be like head and shoulders at some point. Maybe this is a head, shoulder, and then this one yeah, maybe can get a bit higher and make a shoulder perhaps, but in theory, this is my Roth IRA. Ideally, this thing could be nice. QYLD, which is like the S&P 500 have set. It pays a fat dividend, right? You can see the coronavirus drop here. It's not an uptrending stock. It kind of downtrends, but that's because it pays a really heavy dividend. And I'm up there because I was in, I think, like right after I left. Not right after, I mean right before 11:08. Right here, I was in at what, 20 and 52. I was annoyed because right when I was getting off, I saw this red candle. I'm like, of course that happened. I'm not in a large size. I just wanted to be in just a little piece, and then maybe try to work my way towards the upside. And ideally, this can be something that I can be in at a profitable price for a long time and benefit from that. And then the other one that I am in is a swing trade. I probably won't go over this one whenever I close it because it's meant to be, at least for me, a long-term hold because it pays a dividend. But I am in this one in my swing trading account, just a small size. This is one of those carbon deposits, whatever, offsetting carbon emissions ETFs, and I actually saw it way back here when it was at like 42, and I sold a few days later for like a tiny loss because I didn't like the way it was trading, and I'm just not good at holding positions for a long-term period. And it shot up like crazy, and despite how crazy the overall markets are, like the freaking thing here just keeps uptrending. I don't remember how to do it, but there was something where you can like have two showing at the same time. Let me see if I can remember where it was or if it still has it. I don't remember anymore. There was something where you can like compare the daily chart of one stock and the other. I mean, you can see all of the mess right here with SPY, how it just downtrended, right? And then you look at this one, it's just so strong. Now, don't take my freaking ideas as your own investment advice. I know a lot less about long-term trading compared to my day trading, and I barely do long-term stuff. When I want to try it, maybe it can be something nice. I could also be buying the top here too. So yeah, that's about it. In terms of that, I'm up like $4, I guess, but that's unrealized. That's all I have for today. Ideally, I can be more aggressive next week, not do any stupid trades like options or accidentally be oversized. But it seems like I'm seeing a lot of setups that work out. I just need to really push myself and keep seeing them more to the point that I start trading them even more, and I can really benefit from that. So yeah, that's all I have for right now, and very thankful overall for the week, despite that dumb option trade I did. I just need to get aggressive with the setups I know best.